Hello EFD squad and welcome back to another Top 10. Today we're looking at Barcelona's 10 worst moments in their history. Some of these are pretty harrowing. Let's dive straight in. 10. Gampa's resignation. We've seen in 2017 the enormous pride Catalans have for FC Barcelona and Gerard Piqué becoming a symbol of their struggle for independence. And things were no different in the 1920s. Barcelona, who were already playing at the 30,000 capacity Les Corts Stadium, were developing under the new steady leadership of founder and president Joan Gamper. Gamper lived for the club, having first been elected president in 1908 and spending 25 years at the helm, securing Barcelona's own stadium and introducing club members. However, on the 24th of June in 1925, in protest to Miguel Primo de Rivera's dictatorship, mouthful, the fans jeered the national anthem and applauded God Save the Queen, performed by a British maritime band. In response, Rivera closed the stadium for 6 months and humiliated Barcelona by forcing their founder to resign. Ironically, without Gamper, Barcelona would turn professional in 1926 and win their first La Liga in 1929. 9. Barca Get Lazy. After winning the 2006 Champions League, beating Arsenal 2-1, the Blaugrana were expected to dominate over the next few years. After all, they had the world's best player in their ranks, the brilliant Ronaldinho. Despite Dino scoring a career-best 21 league goals in 2006-2007, the team lost the title on head-to-head to Real Madrid, despite having a plus 19 goal difference over their arch-rivals. His following season was plagued by injuries, with a muscle tear ending his campaign in April. His physical condition declined as his partying lifestyle and lack of dedication finally took its toll. With their talisman in decline, Barcelona finished third in La Liga with 67 points in 2007-2008, behind Real and Villarreal, a distant 18 points off top spot. To put that in perspective, since then, the lowest Barcelona have ever finished with is 87 points in 08-09 and 13-14. That summer, Ronaldinho was sold to Milan, Rijkaard left as manager, and reserve team coach Pep Guardiola took the helm. We all know what happened next. 8. Banning of the Catalan flag. After the dictator General Franco occupied Catalonia in 1939, he decided to make football clubs use only Spanish names. Coupled to that, he also banned the Catalan national flag, the Senyera. FC Barcelona became Club de Football Barcelona, and the Blaugrana were forced to redesign their badge by removing the flag. But after it began to adhere to Franco's wishes, the club stabilised economically and politically in the 1940s. Despite this, Les Corts remained one of the only places where Catalans could express themselves freely, adding to the inseparable link between the club and its people. Despite initial improvement when Gamper left, it seemed to hamper the club in the long term. They didn't win La Liga again until the 1940s and only finished in the top 3 once in the 1930s. 7. President murdered. Some football fans would no doubt like some of their club's hierarchy to meet a sticky end. I'm sure Newcastle fans wouldn't mind a world without Mike Ashley, and similarly, a lot of United supporters would love a Glazer-free club. But for the Barcelona faithful, the loss of club president Josep Sunyol was a tragedy. A club director since 1928, he'd also founded left-wing newspaper La Rambla, which openly attacked both Primo de Rivera and Franco. He was also a vocal activist in the anti-dictatorship movements Acció Catalana and Esquerra Republicana de Catalunya. In 1935, he would become even more visible when he was elected as the 28th club president. However, after being captured by Franco's troops in August 1936 in the Sierra de Guadarrama mountain range, he was executed. He remains one of the great martyrs in Barcelona's history. 6. Suicide, the crash and war. The 1930s were an incredibly dramatic time in Barcelona's history. Having suffered with crippling depression brought on because of his personal circumstances and financial difficulties, Joan Gamper, the father of FC Barcelona, sadly committed suicide in 1930. Coupled with this, the 1929 Wall Street crash put incredible stress on Barcelona's finances. As if things couldn't get any worse, the political conflict caused by the rise of Franco and the Second Spanish Republic put sport very much on the back burner. Barcelona's dissident nature meant that in 1936, a month after the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, several players from the Blaugrana and Atletico Bilbao enlisted in the struggle. With the war in full flow, the city was bombed in March 1938 by the Italian Air Force. A bomb hit the club's offices and more than 3,000 Barcelona residents were sadly killed. 5. European struggles. It's hard to imagine now, but for a long time, the 5-time European champions used to struggle in the continent's premier competition. The European Cup was introduced in 1955, and Real Madrid, led by Alfredo Di Stéfano and Ferenc Puskás, won the first 5 editions of the competition. Barca finally inflicted Los Blancos' first defeat in the competition in the 1960-61 season, beating them 4-3 on aggregate in the last 16. After defeating Czech side Hradec Králové and Hamburg, Barcelona found themselves in the final against Benfica, their big chance to finally win the European Cup. However, after Barcelona took an early lead in Bern, Benfica got 3 goals in quick succession, with the match eventually finishing 3-2. Barcelona only got to the semi-final once in the next 26 years, losing to Leeds in 1975 before finally reaching the final in 1986 under Terry Venables. Once again, Barcelona failed, and after a forgettable 0-0 contest, they missed all 4 of their penalties, and Steaua Bucharest eventually clinched the trophy. 4. The Dream Team's nightmare. Barcelona were heavy favourites going into the 1994 Champions League final against AC Milan. They were going for their 2nd title in 3 years, following their first triumph in 1992, and the Dream Team were coming off the back of 4 straight La Liga titles. Their opponents, AC Milan, were in disarray. Legendary striker Marco van Basten was out with a long-term injury, as was the world's most expensive player in winger Gianluigi Lentini. Plus, Franco Baresi and Costa Curta were both suspended. UEFA regulations stipulated that teams could only field 3 non-nationals, which forced Milan manager Fabio Capello to leave out Jean-Pierre Papin and Brian Laudrup. Pundits at the time called the AC Milan performance that night the greatest ever in a European final. Until Liverpool, piss on their chips. Frenchman Marcel Desailly, who beat the offside trap to seal the 4-0 win, became the first player to win the trophy in consecutive years with 2 different clubs, having triumphed with Marseille in 1993. Barcelona were once again left red-faced on the European stage. 3. Di Stéfano snubs Barcelona. The Blaugrana's superb start to the 1950s, which included winning La Liga in 1952 and 53, was in large part down to the goals of Hungarian-born scoring sensation Laszlo Kubala, who remains 3rd on Barca's all-time goal-scoring charts with 194 goals. In 1953, Barca fans heard rumours of a mouth-watering deal to pair Kubala with Argentina's goal machine Alfredo Di Stéfano. However, amid rumours of meddling by Franco that still exist to this day, Di Stéfano signed for Real. Di Stefano's impact, however, was unquestionable. In his 11 years at the Bernabeu, he scored 216 goals, leaving him 3rd on Real's all-time goal-scoring charts behind Ronaldo and Raúl. He netted at a rate of 0.8 goals per game, comparable to his countryman Messi's Barcelona record of 0.9. To Barca's fans' agony, the Kubala-Di Stéfano partnership never came to fruition, and they were forced to watch on as Real romped to 5 straight European Cups, with Di Stéfano netting 49 goals in 58 European appearances. 2. 2013's Demolition. Barcelona were favourites for the 2013 Champions League, having won the title 3 times in the previous 7 years. And despite Pep taking a sabbatical that season and his assistant Tito Villanova taking over, they were romping to another La Liga title, which they'd end up winning by 15 points from Real Madrid. They finished with 100 points that season and scored over 3 goals per game. They were drawn against Bayern in the semi-finals, and Villanova's gamble on a half-fit Messi in the first leg in the Allianz Arena failed to pay off, and they were duly demolished 4-0. This was their heaviest ever defeat since a loss by the same scoreline to Dynamo Kiev in 1997. Needing a miracle to qualify for the final, surely it couldn't get any worse. But it did. Bayern humiliated Barcelona on their own turf, romping to a 3-0 win. This was even more embarrassing because Guardiola had announced he would take over Bayern at the end of the season. The defeat signalled the end of Barcelona's golden era as they suffered their heaviest aggregate defeat in European semi-final history. 1. The Figo Fiasco. So far in this list, we've had some pretty dark stuff. Forced resignations, banned flags, assassinations, and numerous embarrassing defeats. But in terms of modern history, this one still probably hurts the fans that little bit more. Having sworn his loyalty to the Blaugrana just a few months before, and having helped the club to 7 trophies in 5 years, Luis Figo transferred to Real Madrid for a world record €60 million. The depth of animosity towards him on his return to the Camp Nou was like nothing else. A corner he was taking was delayed for 16 minutes as fans threw missiles including coins, a knife, a whiskey bottle and even a pig's head at him. Real Madrid's subsequent success was even harder to stomach. His arrival prompted the start of Florentino Perez's Galactico era, and he would go on to win the Ballon d'Or, 2 La Liga titles, a Champions League, and become La Liga's all-time assist provider with 105. So they were our 10 worst moments in Barcelona's history. Have we missed any out, guys? Let me know in the comments below. What club would you like to see us do next? Get at me on Twitter. And if you enjoyed this, go and watch That Was the Champions. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.